Okay, this is not a yard sale. This is Eyewitness Newsmakers, and I'm John Bendick. And you could put away your cross-country skis. It's just about over. The mountain is beginning to melt. It's looking great for the hiking season. And with me today is probably the expert, a guy who's gained some national recognition for his videos and articles about backpacking, lightweight style. Lynne Whelden. Lynne, good to have you back here.
Good to be here.
I'll tell you, when I was skiing about a week ago, 2 skiers I saw and 17 hikers, so I think it's over. So if you're a hiker and you want to find out what's new or how you can have more fun, improve the conditions, this is the program you want to see. And if you're just beginning to get into hiking, you're going to say, I'm going to do some backpacking this summer, this spring. This is a program you want to see. So start your VCRs. If not, you're going to have to pay for this in a video later. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to Eyewitness Newsmakers, and welcome back to spring. And that means hiking and backpacking in Pennsylvania. And what's great about northeastern and north central Pennsylvania, there are trails that you could probably do a trail a week and you won't do it for the rest of your life. That's how much it is. Lynne Whelden is my guest. Lynne has just gotten back from hiking the Pacific Coast Trail. He spent the entire, 3 months on that trail?
3.5 months.
Now you're back in Pennsylvania to tell us what you've learned and what we could do to improve our hiking style. You know, can one thing about people who backpack, sometimes I think we spend more time collecting new items than we do packing. Is that right? It's almost like fly fishermen. We keep buying and buying.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the things that I stand very strongly for is resisting that temptation, going through all the stuff you have, picking everything up, asking yourself the tough question, do I really need this? What's my attachment to this piece of gear? You know, the equipment that we have has taken us on so many neat adventures that we develop this emotional bond. I don't want to get heavy on you here, but you know, I mean, backpacking seems so simple, but really, when you think about it, you know, that stove or that frame or that sleeping bag, we have memories associated with it, and it becomes a friend to us, and we don't even want to consider any other alternatives or any possibilities of something that's better, something that's lighter out there, and in the last 5 years, that's kind of been the quest that I've taken on myself.
Now, we always think of when we begin to hike, the big heavy boots, boy, they were cumbersome. And that backpack got pretty darn heavy. And, you know, I know you say an emotional bond, but it took a lot of fun out of it. And I think you've put fun back into backpacking. You could go longer, it's more restful. And if you're doing overnight backpacking, it's a lot easier to cope with what's out there, I think. So what you have here, if you could, I don't know if you have to go through the whole evolution of it all, but tell us just what the best thing to do and the best thing to wear and what to...
Sure. Well, the term evolution is a good one, because some of these things here will show how my own thinking has changed. Shoes is probably the most important item that you're going to have on a backpack, and yet you know, we go into a store, we basically take our brains and let the salesman do our thinking for us, and they're usually oriented around the traditional stuff. Back in 1992, I hiked the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine, and these were the shoes that I wore, and these, it's kind of a traditional shoe, but it's a lightweight shoe, but it has leather and fabric in it. Then I started reading some articles that talked about using sneakers, hiking in running shoes and that sort of thing. So in '97, when I did the Pacific Crest Trail, these are the shoes that I wore, and these are basically just trail running shoes. A lot more fabric in it, just a little bit of rubber on the tips, no leather, no real thick sole. And the thinking there is that the lighter the weight you have on your shoe, the less calories you're going to have to burn. You're going to be able to travel faster and that sort of thing. The ultimate, or almost the ultimate in hiking wear that's starting to become more popular is, believe it or not, sandals. And I saw a couple people out on the PCT this past year that were hiking in sandals. I think the ultimate in shoe wear is walking barefoot. And believe it or not, when I was hiking the Loyal Sock Trail here in Pennsylvania a few years ago, I came across two women, and the younger of the two was hiking with a full backpack and bare feet. I don't know if I'm going to get there yet.
That's the element. But you know, you still, if you would go anywhere, you would still, I think you would still see the big hiking heavy boots.
Yeah.
That there's, and you still see people hiking in those.
Yeah.
So what, and yeah, you, like you say, that's a running shoe practically. Weighs just as much, and it feels so much more comfortable when you're moving along.
Yeah. The thing is, you have to accept the fact that your feet are going to get wet on a hike. And see, that's what people...
See, that's another thing. They advertise, well, it's waterproof, windproof, everything
Yeah.
else. And
I mean, if it's not going to get wet from the outside, it's going to get wet from your sweat and that sort of thing. So, you know, that's what happens is people let their fears get the best of them when they're starting to plan a trip. And you know, in terms of feet, they think, oh, you know, I've got to wall that foot off from the outside world. I've got to protect it. I've got to have these thick layers, the Gore-Tex lining and all that kind of stuff, which they're just asking for trouble because it's not going to work anyways. And so by putting on a light shoe like a trail running shoe or just an ordinary running shoe, you're letting your feet breathe. When it does get wet, it's going to dry out faster.
Right.
That's the good part of it.
Okay, so that's the shoe now. What kind of I see advertised blister-free socks. Is there such a thing? What kind of socks should you put on?
Well, I wear 2 layers of socks. I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a liner sock made out of a synthetic material that is designed to wick the moisture away from your skin, and then I wear a wool sock on the outside, which does the same thing. It helps to keep the water away from your feet, but it also keeps your feet warm when they do get wet. There's another type of...
you mentioned wool, and that's almost like a polypro or Gore-Tex. You don't use cotton, though, right? Because that'll absorb the water. And
Cotton is a
dry.
bad word in the world of hiking. You don't wear any cotton on your body. You don't wear any cotton on your feet.
Okay.
But
is that your hat? You always wear that hat, right?
well, in the colder weather, yeah. I usually wear this when I go to bed, but in the summertime, I wear a bandana,
Yeah.
and I've taken the lowly bandana and expanded that concept and put a sign on it now, so that when you need to hitchhike, you get to a road crossing and you got to go into town to get your food.
Do you see that? It says hiker. That means you want to ride to town.
Yeah, because I mean, here's this scruffy-looking character that's standing by the side of the road, and most people don't want to even slow down, you know. And so this identifies who you are and where you want to go. So
I never saw that before. You just make that up.
This is an original
That's
idea.
an original. Okay.
Yeah.
You talked about the hat. When you're overnight, that's what I do too. Wear a hat like that. When you talk about you wear it to bed when you're camping out, that's almost a necessity. It really
Yeah,
is.
because you actually lose the majority of your heat
Right.
through your neck and your head. So.
Okay. What other clothing that you have to take with you? I mean, there's some things you must take with you no matter how light you want to be as a backpacker. What are some of the mandatory items?
Yeah, well, again, everything's a synthetic or a nylon type of material. What I have on here is pretty much everything that I had on the Pacific Crest Trail.
Now, the undergarment here, is that like a whisk away the perspire? That's like a
polypropylene. This is the long sleeve one, which I take these other clothes off at night and wear this to bed because the other stuff tends to get sweaty. But this is more or less a T-shirt right here with a zipper on it. I do that
But the T-shirt, it's not cotton. That's like a synthetic.
Right, and I put the zipper on it. I have somebody put it on for ventilation control. You know, it just when you're going uphill and you're getting really hot, you just unzip it, and it just helps to keep you cooler and that kind of thing. Then there's a Polartec, a fleece jacket, kind of a mid-weight fleece jacket, and then
that protects against the wind more than anything. I think, right?
Well, this is more like a synthetic wool. When it gets wet, you can just wring it out and put it back on, and it keeps you dry.
Oh, that's pretty
For wind and rain protection, this is just a Gore-Tex, your standard Gore-Tex rain jacket with a hood on it. And I've had this thing for about 10 years, and it really needs to be replaced. But this, in combination with your insulating layer and your inner layer is pretty much all you need.
Yeah.
And then on the bottom, just your nylon running shorts, and then another, the long underwear, the polypropylene long underwear. And
that's when it gets a little colder, right?
Yep.
That's what a lot of people are dressed so heavily when they hike. You see the big jackets, the big sweaters. You want to avoid sweaters, right?
Yeah.
In most cases.
Yeah.
And any kind of bulky jackets, right?
Right. You go for a layer system.
Yeah.
You know, just 2 or 3 very thin layers does as much better than having one heavy, thick layer.
What about sunscreen and all that now? Do you use a lot of that? I mean, that's one of those items you should take with you, especially in today's world of skin cancer and everything else. Not like it used to be, you know, if you got this great tan, he said, hey, you look great. Now he said, hey, you better watch yourself.
Yeah. Well, I must say, on the PCT, which incidentally, for those of you who don't know, starts at the Mexican border.
It's a Pacific Coast Trail, right?
And 2,600 miles long. The first...
Just so you know, this guy just hiked 2,600 miles, so just so they know what you're talking about here.
There's 1,600 miles of trail in California. I didn't get one day of rain then. Every day was a sunny day. Now, there were some cloudy days, but it never rained. So as far as sunscreen goes, it's probably a wise thing to do. I had a little bit with me, but I'm not the kind that likes to put that kind of stuff on my skin. So I just had a wide brim hat and sunglasses to protect.
So protect yourself, and you don't have to, but you should protect yourself some way, right?
The wise thing to do is a combination of sunscreen and long sleeve shirts and maybe even long pants, you know, very light.
Right. But like the material you're wearing here, that's sort of, they're not warm, I don't think, right? When you're, no matter how many layers you put on, it's breathable and...
Right. Once, you know, when this stuff gets wet, and it's warm, the nice thing is it just evaporates and cools you off, so it works both ways.
And again, the emphasis is on just lightweight clothing. I mean, it keeps you cool, it keeps you warm, and it keeps you dry. You don't have to get anything bulky, and the lightweight running shoes. Hey, we're going to take a break and come back with more of the, I'm not sure what it is here, and again, it does look a little bit like a yard sale. Lynne Whelden just completed hiking the Pacific Coast Trail. That's 2,600 miles, and he's going to tell you about hiking some local trails like the Loyal Sock Trail and a few other trails in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. We'll be right back.